republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So, for approval of the agenda, I'll entertain a motion to remove the second set of minutes from the agenda. Those are not available at this time.
So I'll move that we accept the amended agenda.
Support.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? So move to approval of the July 11th. What's that?
Who seconded that?
Steve did.
Okay, thank you.
So the July 11th meeting minutes. I did not see any issues.
I'll move to approve.
Okay, motion to approve and support. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next is call to the public, and for everyone's awareness, we will recess at 7:30 for a public hearing for the Keys application. So is there any public comment at this time? Anything not specific to that application?
Not specific. How about a master plan? No, not yet.
Right, yeah, now's the time for public comment if you have some, yeah. We are recessing at 7:30 for a public hearing, so
Okay, so-
that will have its own public comment. But,
I see some, on the master plan, I was reading about it in Helena Merced and Hogan Road, and I see the truck, like, you know, I'm talking about it, the truck route again, and in the visionary section we specifically said that we would not have it on my road, Hogan Road. So I see a map here, I don't know if you want the truck route map and transportation, and it doesn't show that it just goes on 23 to Bennett Lake and White Lake, but it does not show on Hogan Road. So I'm not sure if that's the,
That's an error. There was a comment, there was a comment at that last joint meeting last
yes,
week
okay.
about that.
And,
so currently, it is one of the truck routes. So the
So it
map, yes, and the map is incorrect.
so how we amended, I mean, people were very upset about it, very talk about it, and how we're gonna change in the master plan that we're not gonna have it. How is it possible to have it?
And we can comment on that when we get to the master plan part of the agenda. Is that okay?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
I have I don't know, I have a few, I can give it to you, my situation, how I stand on papers, if you can read it. Can I give it to you?
Yeah, and then we can.
Okay, I give it one to Mateo too, because he's doing the master plan, and it's very, thank you. Thank you guys so much. I mean, I have, like I said, I'm just really.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other public comment at this time? Okay. Move to old business item number 1, which is the master plan. And we did receive from some members of the Township Board some feedback, Mateo, and I don't know, I can't remember if you were copied on the note, but it mentions it has the year 2020 in section 8.2.
What was that from?
This is from Jennifer. She compiled a list of feedback from,
Oh,
yeah, I'm gonna go to that section just so we can look at it here.
and my apologies, who was that from?
It's from Jennifer Eden. She said, she compiled a list of
Okay.
items that the Township Board
Oh, the board.
members saw and noticed, so she sent us an email
Oh, I didn't get it.
to look at when we're talking about master plan today,
Okay.
so that's what I think.
Yeah, they're mostly just,
She sent all those emails?
Like a proofreading of it,
Yeah.
right?
No, John.
Yeah, it wasn't, at least in my opinion, it was like the color of Lake Districts didn't match and,
Yeah, the one item on the future land use map is, let me get to it.
Wait, so she sent, did you guys all get this?
no, I didn't.
No, I got it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's, I'm just trying to show it here and,
No, because I didn't get that.
yeah.
But I remember them making comments on the,
So this is, it's more of a editing thing here. Do you see this section, Mateo?
Okay.
It says, is located at just south of Center Road in 2020. So this
Gotcha.
probably doesn't, right? It's a
Cleaning up the-
something that should be
I got you.
deleted.
Yep, all right.
Yeah, so.
I don't believe we got those notes, but that's, I mean, Ross and I were kind of working on a way to collect the notes from the board.
Yeah, no.
So I don't know if he might be leaving it, I think what we were gonna try to do is kind of establish kind of the 2 week out from the next meeting
Yeah.
as a potential, and then he was going to send everything from there, but I,
Yeah, no, and this is just, we have them, and so we might as well review them and
Sure.
document them. It's a good time to look at them. And then the next, it's more of a editing also. And it's this sentence here. So when we started the master plan, this was current, right? But now the historic townhouse is moved and it's on the new site, so
Yeah,
just.
that's happened though since we started.
Yeah, exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's not, but it's a good catch, you know,
Yeah.
that, so. Yeah, nothing major there, and then I think the next one is which we talked about, the joint meeting, let's get to the waste management portion of it. I think, the input was,
yeah, because we're changing, the township is no longer managing the.
right, that's, oh, I'm sorry, Kurt.
Yeah. Because,
Yeah, what Rich has up is the 705 draft, not the 821. But I know what you're talking about, the
Yeah.
one at the end where it says, has begun early deliberations on the options of consolidating waste management.
yeah, yeah.
They want that out.
Yeah, yeah. And here's you can see this. Yeah, yeah. Put two reasons, right?
And again, I will look at this when I get it, but is it removed and replaced with something else, or is it just removed?
Remove.
Okay.
yeah, it's just, we're not gonna quarterback the waste pickup for everybody in a particular subdivision or whatever.
Sure.
Because what we had been doing is quarterbacking that, putting the cost into their taxes, and then we become the target of, how come my garbage didn't get picked up? My recyclable stuff is still sitting here on Wednesday, and it was supposed to have been picked up on last Friday and all that. Well, we can't do anything about that.
Sure.
So we're no longer going to act as a middleman in the process.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm
If
just,
you had more.
yep, no, go for it.
No, the last one was, and as part of the future land use map, you can see around Runyon Lake And then like Tyrone, we have it as lake residential.
The blue, yeah,
And this was the note that they mentioned in
Yeah.
our joint meeting, then we have, we have the Lake Shannon as medium density and low,
and you
right?
mentioned that because that was done after, like that was much after those subs were done. Is that what the reason was with Tam?
I believe so. That was the designations of those uses around those lakes was before my time. But Doug, I mean, obviously Doug is still there.
And
I think it
There was
was,
almost a 40-year difference in the plats.
yeah, no, understood, but like from our township's perspective,
Right.
future, right?
I wonder why, yeah.
They're really, the future plan for that area is lake residential, right? It's, to me, I don't see us, trying to do something else around Lake Shannon besides residential properties, right?
Right.
So I think it was, it's a valid point, and
yeah, I think too, because those are longer, older lots on the further east that you go, maybe Lake Shannon was because you have a designation that overlaps both properties that are on the lake, but then adjacent to, not on it, but near it.
yeah.
So, I mean, again, it's a draft. We can change it if the desire is to go more with the lake residential on the lots, specifically just the lots that are on Lake Shannon.
Yeah, to me, that fits with
Consistency, I
the
think, is
consistency of the future plan for, right, from the land
Regardless of
use
when they
perspective.
were platted, I think it should be consistent.
Right, because not every lakefront piece of property is LK1 right now.
Yeah, correct, yeah.
But just Lake Shannon, we're not going any further with any of the other lakes identified, or identified any other lakes in the township?
I don't see any others that are platted up that heavily.
Well, the other one is off Bennett Lake up here.
So that equates to the LK1 zoning district.
Yeah,
From a future perspective.
Those are, up Bennett Lake though, those aren't like, I mean, what I'm looking at.
But what's the lot size and stuff for LK1? Isn't that generally pretty small?
yes.
It is, and most of,
And most of that was just because, like you said, it was,
It was platted in the 20s.
well, regardless of the time it was platted, when it was platted, the size of the lots.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I mean, so, is it,
but
so
yeah,
say that there was a lots on Lake Shannon, large lots, and if the future land use showed it with the blue, which equates to the lake, LK1 residential, then they can have those small lots?
well, if they would still have to go through the zoning application to say, hey, we want to do a PUD or, some type of bill.
Just a
Or rezone their property.
rezone the property.
Yeah, exactly.
if you got,
Yeah.
if you had a 90-foot wide, a 90-foot wide lot, you couldn't split it and make it 245s because 45 was one of the things that they originally had in LK1.
But what if they have a 100-foot lot and the LK 50-foot wide lot is allowed? I don't know if that fits in Lake Shannon.
Well, let's put it this way, I guess the intention is not to allow smaller lots than the current sizes in those areas. Now, there are some that are smaller than what we currently allow, but that's because those were platted before the zoning ordinances came in to limit the size on LK1, or to expand the size on LK1. So what we don't want to do is go back and allow people to use the platting that was available in 1920 to, in essence, split a lot just because they bought maybe 2 or 3 lots and they'd like to split one out there on the lake.
Well, there are some vacant lots out there still, and if they ever put sewers in, that could potentially be a problem.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
For one, I think the Lake Shannon Architectural Committee, I think they don't allow smaller lots, right?
Right.
So, I mean.
Yeah, so it's
that-
almost, it's a
but
moot point.
That's what the current is now, but that's letting them control it. But
So you don't think, John, we should,
I just think
Turn it
that
into
you
blue
drive out, you go out to Lake Shannon, there's not small lots.
no,
No,
So I don't think we should put that in the future land use.
Yeah, and it's more,
That was a
even
question
on
that
like
brought
Lake
up,
Tyrone,
that we were wondering why it was
I
done
think-
that way, and I think it's
like Lake Tyrone.
I think they're
has a big
different,
lot.
I think they're different lakes. I mean,
Definitely different developments.
there's different developments, there's
Yeah.
different,
Yeah.
it's just different out there, so
So we're
I think it's, to me, it's okay to have different,
Right, because Lake Shannon wasn't platted until the 60s.
Yep.
yeah, and once again, it wasn't, I mean, it had to do with the time, but it was
Right.
platted with larger lots.
Yeah, because Runyon Lake was platted as, more like resort area, you know? You go up
Yeah, or
north,
the cottages.
you run into the same thing up north.
Yeah, it's hard to know, like, based on this map with sizes, but majority of them are probably similar in size when you, if you actually did land area on all the lakes. You know what I mean? But
Right.
it's,
I think the question that this board brought up was a legitimate question. I think that we answered the question. Was that it's a different animal.
Yeah, just because it's,
A lake, it
just
doesn't.
because it's a lake doesn't mean it should have the same zoning.
Right.
Yeah, no, and we're only talking about future land use, right? So, but your point.
Someone
But
coming in and
the-
trying to split
The
that.
future land use map is gonna set the future zone.
Yeah, exactly,
Right.
yep.
Someday there'll be a sewer around that lake, I would guess, and believe me, if someone had a lot, and they could split it, it was certainly, in my opinion, a good try.
So then just for clarity, as of right now, we're good with the way it's set up on future land use around Lake Shannon?
I can't tell the yellow right from.
Right now,
Is that
it's-
medium?
It's a medium density.
Yeah, except for the southernmost portion of it is agricultural.
I gotta see what medium density equates to. That equates to R2.
Yeah.
And R2 can have 110-foot lot width. So that's a big difference, 60 versus 110.
I think it makes a lot of sense.
I think that's good, yeah.
Yeah, and but my
Once again,
guess
I
is
think-
that most lots on Lake Shannon are less than 110 feet wide.
I don't think so, I don't think so.
On the overview?
I don't think so.
I think you're 100 plus feet wide.
It's hard to say most, but, you know,
Yeah.
Maybe
Ross probably
had a house
had
up there when I was a kid, and it seemed like we all weren't 100 feet.
Yeah, it's hard to tell from this map for sure.
I think that's a response to the question from the board, in my opinion, of why we're doing the differential of the two. I think, to John's point, that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
And when they asked it, I was like, okay, why do we do that? But now it makes sense. You go to Runyon Lake, I got a couple blades of that out there, and take the pontoon ride, it's like, literally, you could reach out your window and shake your neighbor's hand, or just about. And Lake Shannon isn't that way.
No,
Yeah.
that's because they were platted so much later. Well, and Lake Shannon wasn't a lake until the late 50s.
Right.
Yeah. Well, the desire is to set the precedent that the larger lots is kind of what you would want to maintain around that lake, then I would stick with that designation. But that's, I'm just advising,
Yeah, no,
wherever you want to go.
now that we're looking at it, the only thing I see is
well,
is the southernmost part of on the future land use map right here. This area is,
Along the old mill pond?
right there is zoned agricultural natural.
Yeah, but that's all mill pond, that's all swampy down there.
Yeah, no, yeah, it is. But,
But you look where the road runs up through there, there's almost,
yeah, that other side is.
yeah, on the pond side, I call it the pond, it's almost everything that could be.
Wetlands and
built.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, that's where that, is that where that nature is? Nature area?
Yeah,
Remember
there's
riding the
a
bus up there,
trail
Scott?
You can walk in.
Oh.
Yeah.
Along the mill pond there in Parkerville? Yeah. I said, remember riding the bus? It was like, every day we'd see that.
Are you on the new future land use map?
Yeah.
So this is kind of a sidebar comment, but it applies to this. If you like, zoom in way over here to this, like, small lots over there, real close, to try to see small lots, it's kind of hard to tell with the light yellow versus the dark yellow. Go a little closer. So those lots, can you tell where that yellow changes? It's hard to tell
Oh, in here.
with the clarity of that map. I think when they got inserted as like an image. Because when they were separate, like if I go back to when we were just dealing with the separate PDFs, it was real crisp clear. I'm gonna-
Oh, yeah, this, you mentioned this in one of our other.
Yeah.
the last
Yeah,
meeting.
I can work with our GIS and map folks to try to get these better resolution in the drafts.
Because, that's gonna come down to it, we're gonna be using this map, and then it'll be like an application, we gotta try to tell what,
Yeah.
that map is the only way to tell which parcel is
Yeah.
designated as what.
Sure.
Yeah, so what I'm gathering, based on your guys' feedback, is that the way the future land use map is what we want and what is intended by the
Well-
planning commission.
Well, yeah, the current zoning around there is R1, and the future land use map is medium density, which equates to R2.
Okay, so we did step it.
We still stepped it up.
Yeah,
Which I think is fine. Like I said, I don't know if it even gonna make a difference because Lake Shannon has stricter regulations, or they
Yeah.
regulate what they want.
yeah.
Which I would always like to have a copy of that so we can know, but
Yeah, that would be nice, but it isn't required, that's the problem.
no. And that could change. It can change that, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that, leaving it like it is, if you guys are.
I think John's point is very valid.
yeah.
That was it. I think what the other one that was mentioned, let me see which article it was. Or the, is there any, while I'm looking through this, Mateo, is there any questions you have on the planning commission at this time for the master plan?
No, I think it's just, again, kind of in attempting to keep with the goal for year end. Like I said, I was working with Ross to collect all the comments from the board
Yeah.
per the joint meeting.
Yeah.
If the planning commission would have any further notes, that, I think that kind of deadline for comments would apply for you guys as well, and then we would kind of craft a final draft red line that we can get, stamp of approval on and start getting ready for the distribution, the neighbors.
All right.
So is it possible to get a final draft in time to take a final draft to the October board meeting?
Is that the one in early October? Or they meet?
Because what we're looking at here is, I have to look at a calendar
Yeah,
here.
we gotta keep moving if we're gonna get done by the end of the year.
Could be what? October
What's it,
3rd?
61 days for the
63.
63?
And then a public hearing right thereafter.
So it would have to be available by the 3rd for the meeting, but we would have to have it probably by the 27th in order to make sure that we have time to review it by the 3rd.
Right.
Plus, it's got to be available to go on the agenda.
Right, which means you'd be looking to have it, so for us, what we would want then is, like I said, Ross and I have kind of tentatively discussed the 19th, kind of trying to be a cutoff. Then
For any,
that would give us a week to draft whatever changes
okay,
were necessary, get it back to you guys for review prior to the 3rd. And then at the 3rd, there would have to be, I believe, joint consensus at that point to say, this is good, this is what we want distributed to the neighbors.
See, the problem is the board is going to meet before the planning commission. And the planning commission really needs to approve the final draft before it goes to the board.
We have to, we have to recommend it.
Right.
Couldn't we do that just through a poll?
No.
No, we gotta do it in a meeting.
We'd have to do that at a meeting.
Okay.
I mean, it's like all this work on the master plan, we're really only gonna have one vote, right?
Yeah.
And everything else along the way is kind of like very,
Yeah.
One vote, you mean like Kurt?
No, I'm saying one vote for the final master plan. We can talk about, yeah, let's do that, let's do that.
Oh.
But it's all gonna come down to one vote.
Yeah, because see, what has to happen
To
then
recommend
after we recommend it, it's got to go to the board and we have to hold a hearing, public hearing on it.
Yeah, they do the final.
Is that the public hearing?
Because a public hearing
So we need
won't
2
be
weeks
held by the
notice.
planning commission, it will be held by the board.
Yeah, and I think overall, Mateo, if we tried to squeeze it in this year, you would be resolving with the final master plan, and it would probably be in December, right?
Let's see. What do we got? October, November, December, 3 days after, then you've got public hearing. I mean, if you, at this point, looking at early October, you're tight for year end depending on when your meetings fall.
Yeah.
But I don't think you're tight if you're looking at January or February. Now, I'm not trying to modify your deadline.
No, what my point is, I think we would be better served as a community to do it for January, February, instead of trying to rush it in right before the end of the year when people are out of town.
Probably.
It happens every year. And,
Yeah, I wasn't,
you know,
for me, I just
I'm
don't.
just trying to
No, 100%.
think about it out loud here.
Not being at the front end, I wasn't privy to why
Yeah.
the year end was ago. So I don't know if it was like a hard, there's something attached to this deadline that
No,
we need to meet.
as a planning commission, we were trying to keep it in front of us so we didn't continue to delay,
Gotcha.
right? And because it happened, we started this process, I don't know how long ago, and it did get delayed
In 2020.
multiple times, so we didn't want that to happen.
I-
That was why we gave ourselves a goal of this year.
No, I hear you. I mean, I would.
2024 is an election year, okay? And the board promised deliverables
Prior.
by the end of this year. Now, yes, there can be extenuating circumstances that push it, but I don't want to see something in March that should have been done at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So what do we need to do to keep it moving as quickly as possible?
Well,
Rich?
Well, I don't think, currently, we gave the feedback from, the board gave feedback. There's not really any items left except for to consolidate all the feedback.
I mean, are they just trying to clean up basically, the housekeeping of the pros and whatever?
Yeah.
Then that's it. Because we're not gonna deal with Lake Shannon. Because we kinda talked about
Yeah, that was one
So we're happy
feedback,
about
and
that.
then the other, it's just some clerical,
some
the road is truck
verbiage
routes,
issues.
and that's it.
Yeah, okay. I would,
I mean, assuming that this is the bulk of it, and that's not to say if there's more that comes in, it comes in. Then it wouldn't be difficult to, get those adjusted and drafted in time for the next board meeting. What I don't know, and what I can confirm is whether or not if it was another joint meeting, could that serve as the PC's meeting to recommend to the board the master plan?
yeah, that was a question.
But I don't
If you made that
Can we do it
joint meeting.
Right, can you accomplish those both right then and there?
yeah, I suspect you could, because realistically, you could submit a final draft without formal approval. We would just have to formally approve it at the following planning commission meeting. I guess I would like to do it the other way around, but I'm also well aware that the end of the year is coming up here, and I'm not trying to get something jammed through just to jam it through, but if we can get it done, it would behoove us to have it done by the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, if you want my, just my advisement on the timeline and the deadline is, it's an important enough document. You only go through this level you know, you might not go through a level of this revision in 5 years, right? So if this is kind of the big push to play out the next 5, 10, 15 years, take what time you need as long as you're providing progress at each step. Maybe it's not the progress you wanted to achieve by that time, but as long as you're moving, I don't see the harm in taking the steps in the time that you need that might push you into January.
Well,
That's-
I don't want to rush it through without having the public hearing done properly and giving, time for public comment and all of the processes. But, the other hand is, like I said, I don't want to drag this into March either.
100%. And I don't sort of foresee a circumstance that would take you that far out.
All right, so it's 7:30, so I'll entertain a motion to suspend the meeting and move into the public hearing.
So moved.
Support.
All righty, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So we'll go to the public hearing. So to receive public comments regarding, let me put it up on the screen here. Regarding a request by Leland and Julie Key for an increase in the permitted accessory building floor area up to a maximum of 1,200 square feet. 1,200 square foot is requested, subject to compliance with the percent lot coverage and placement standards in Article 20 Schedule of Regulations. In Section 2102G of the zoning ordinance, the property is located at 6315 Shannon Glen Drive, Fenton, Michigan. Parcel ID 470432100018, zoned R1, single family residential. So now go to the application. Here. This is a sketch of location of the building. Is there anything that is applicant here?
Yep.
Is there anything you'd like to say in a summary, or it's pretty straightforward, but
Yeah, pretty straightforward.
give you an opportunity if you'd like. Building a pole barn, backyard, and so if there's any questions or stuff for review at this point, we'll
Yeah, I
go
got-
back for our.
I got a couple.
I do too.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So maybe what we'll do is, I'll go to the public comments, and then if we have comments for that.
Yeah, that
we'll
will
go
go
there, sir.
there.
So at this time, if there's public comments regarding this application, please come forward and state your name. Feel free. Okay, not seeing any. All right, so then we'll move to the planning commission and planner comments, and this one we did not submit to our planner for review, so this will be planning commission comments. Unless Mateo, you have something, but go ahead, Kurt or Steve.
My question is, have we received any comments from the neighbors or public for or against this? Other question is, what is the roof pitch on your house?
There's actually multiple pitches on my house,
Wha-
10, 12, 8, 12.
Yeah, because this is a 412, and I know it says architecturally the same, but it just seems like if you're gonna go to a 412 from an 812, it's gonna look really like a pole barn and not really match the house. That's my only concern, but if you haven't got anybody complaining about it, and it's at the back of this, looks like several acre piece of property. How many acres is it?
Over 9 days.
Over 9, and it's behind your house, and no one else will see
Yeah,
it.
if you, Steve, if you drive by there, you can't
This is what
really
we
see
saw
behind
before.
you can't really see behind your
Okay,
house
so-
even, so.
And no one's complaining about it, so we're not gonna have any,
Maybe I misunderstood. I thought there was like a 20-foot height restriction. Maybe I misread that, but I mean, right now, I think we were planning to do a 5/12 pitch on that.
It says 4 on the plan, but, I mean, if your neighbors aren't complaining and we haven't got any complaints, then, I mean, 412 is cheaper than 512. 512 looks nice, but if nobody complains, I'm not gonna stop it.
Speaking of height, what's the proposed height of the accessory building?
10-foot walls.
10-foot walls, and so what's the?
16.
So it's 16. What is the height of your current home?
It's being built right now, but it's a 2-story home, so it's,
Okay,
30 plus. It's really big room.
okay. Because I didn't see that anywhere on any of the drawings, so you might want to add that elevation to it, so we have something that shows exactly what the final height of the top of the building is.
On this one, you can, yeah.
And the siding and black roof, white siding, will still be very similar to your house.
yeah, it'd be an asphalt roof and the steel siding. That would be, my house is a modern farmhouse, so it's got the board and batten.
Door and batten look, yeah. Nice.
No living areas at all in the,
Just one big open,
okay. Water and electric out there?
no water.
No water, okay. Those were my questions.
Yeah, that as well.
So that is, the 10-foot is shown on page 3 of 8. It doesn't show the overall height, but it could be calculated with the rest of the dimension.
312, 15. Oh yeah, 4.5 feet, 4.3 feet.
So this,
Above 10, so it's like 15.
so the request is for increased size from the allowable 800 square feet to the allowable 1,200 with
Yeah,
approval by
max.
the planning commission.
Yeah.
There's no other.
Nothing else, no,
Yeah.
just
And we were gonna go that way, weren't we?
Well, I think we talked about it, but we keep getting other stuff coming up.
Coming up.
It's
Yeah.
kind of nice to look at them, because what if this was in a very small R1 lot, you know?
Right, then we had a lot of complaints.
Then you could have complaints. So I kind of still like the approval process.
Yeah.
but I have no other comments.
And it's on a 4-inch slab, so that was there. There was nothing that showed the height and nothing that provided a comparison
Yeah.
of the houses.
So that's what I mean. I
Yeah.
assume the rest meets we're only improving the area, right?
Setbacks are all that, yeah.
Setbacks and how close is it to what the house looks like?
Yeah, I mean,
Yep, so after someone applies for approval of the additional building area, then we kind of take in charge of the architectural also?
it has to be consistent, I believe.
Yeah.
That's about
Yeah,
it.
but if, say he was going to 800 square feet, he wouldn't have to come here.
Right.
I believe that's,
And then in the office, they just approve, they say it looks the
Yes.
same. So now we do that because,
Yeah.
okay,
no other comments?
I have no other comments.
I'm gonna move to
So
approve.
we'll close the public
Okay,
hearing, and
yeah.
then we have it as a. Okay, so move to close the public hearing this time.
Support?
Alrighty, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, move back into our agenda. So,
Should we go back to this?
yeah, we have to, I can entertain a motion to move.
I'll make a motion to move,
You had applied for a 30 by 40 pole barn.
Excuse me, hold on. Thank you. Go ahead, John.
I'll make where are we at in the agenda right now? We're still on master plan?
Whole business side, whatever you want.
But we're not done with the master plan, are we?
Correct.
No.
Yeah.
So we're gonna, I don't know what my motion is, because I don't know where to
Yeah.
put it.
Move him up,
Well,
right?
no, you've got to follow we already approved the old business being where it is, and you've got to finish the master plan, go to solar utility, then under new business, you can put your motion in.
Yeah.
So there's no,
Yeah.
there's no
Yeah.
point.
No.
Yeah, right. So we gotta follow the agenda.
Yeah.
All right.
For the public hearing, there's no issues from the planning commission. We'll move into our next item, old business item number 1, which was the master plan that we were discussing, and I think overall at this time, Mateo, there's, we've got through the comments that we needed to get through, and the other error, clerical item was the document, the truck route of Hogan Road, which is in our truck route list in the township ordinances. It's
See,
the,
now, I feel like, let me go back to that. I feel like I've,
and maybe the draft of the master plan that the board got
Yeah, so what,
wasn't the final.
I heard you say the 7.5 draft, I think that's what the board had, but there's an 8.21 draft?
This is,
Yeah, it
it's
was-
right here, Mateo, this section of Hogan Road. and
Yeah.
This is the section that we received public comment regarding.
right, but is Hogan Road part of it? Because I feel like we drew from the township ordinance for those truck routes, and that's why.
It's on there, and I think it could have been my fault. At one time, I think I gave you some routes, and it might not have been correct.
Okay, I'll double check on that.
But it's confusing, because if you read that regulatory ordinance, it was originally adopted, and then it was amended. So
Okay.
you kind of got to start at the beginning, and then add ones, take some off, and get up there. But from what I've seen, I think you just got to add Hogan Road from the west township line to Old 23.
And I guess the question gets to be, what is our authority level on truck routes? Is that anything that the township can affect? And my understanding is probably not.
No, I mean,
Yeah, but-
Livingston County,
The township adopted the ordinance.
Yes, we did.
Yes.
Right, but the county establishes the, truck routes within the county. So you've got Argentine, or Deerfield Township next to us. And if they've got a truck route that comes to our border and they continue on, I don't know what you can do about that, I guess is my question.
Yeah, I don't know that either, but my thought is what would be the reason of that regulatory ordinance that the township board adopted?
That's right.
If we don't have control over it, then why do we even adopt an ordinance?
That's a good question. I mean, we may not be able to do anything about it, and I don't know if that goes up through the county commissioners, or if that is something that, because enforcement of that would be, I don't know how you'd enforce it.
How do they enforce it?
And
When you see those signs?
what I would say is from, this is the preceding the map in the master plan, Mateo, and you can see it's listed here. And this is from our Hogan from US 23 to the township border.
okay.
Right, so it's in this map, for everyone's awareness, is documenting what we have today and what's out there.
Okay, so you're saying the text.
The text
is correct.
yeah, delineates it, but from a going forward standpoint, my understanding of truck routes is that that would be a township board item. And maybe it's a county item, like Kurt's saying, I don't know that, but at the planning commission level, we don't
Yeah, 'cause
decide to eliminate truck routes, right, but.
There was amended once already.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I think the Hogan Road, west of the township border, is a truck route through Deerfield.
I think it is.
Yeah, I see what you mean, Kurt. How can we we cut ours off, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah,
where are they gonna go?
yeah.
Argentine,
They can go a little way, you can cut yours off.
yes.
My house stops at Rose Township, it's just down the street, and they're not allowed to bring trucks through there once it's repaved. They're writing tickets.
That should be Argentine, Deerfield Township problem, not ours.
But they need to coordinate, the townships need to coordinate better, but I understand.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, but I guess before we, commit it to stone in the master plan, we probably need to find out what our responsibility and ability is to designate those within the township, or is that out of our hands and part of the county commissioner's job?
Mike would know that.
Because that would be less, that would be the one that should be heard from on that one if it's county commissioners.
I guess my guess is that the Township Board would have the authority if they adopted this resolution.
Yes.
I mean, I think it'd be tough to cut them off, but
Yeah,
I remember a past meeting, I'm sorry, that when they brought that up, that we are allowed to have truck routes. So but how enforceable? Like I say, a lot of these guys keep driving down the road. I guess they call it the cost of doing business. They just pay the fine and they just keep doing it. That's what I was told. So,
Yeah, so Mateo, I think that was the other item that we were
Let me, when I have to,
document or clarify on.
yeah, let me coordinate with Ross and see if there's some kind of information we can get on that.
Yeah, other than that, on the master plan, I think that was the items, and there was no feedback that we received from the planning commission besides what we've given you in their meetings, so
Okay.
I think that's it. Anything else? Good.
a master plan, I think we're set.
Okay, so next old business item.
one more thing on the
Go ahead,
master
Dan.
plan. Can you send out those comments
Yeah.
that the board got?
Yep.
I didn't track them all and look it up. I know we went over the Lake Shannon one, and the other one seemed like pretty like clerical, but
Yeah, and then, it was the waste, and then the last one was
Yeah.
the lake residential on
and
there.
she brought that one up, not Jennifer, but the clerk.
In the joint meeting, yeah.
After the meeting, she asked me about it, and I said,
Pam did, yeah.
damn it, yeah.
Yeah, so next item is the utility scale solar facilities. And currently, I think this is the latest vision. I think it looks like the beginning of the text was changed.
Yeah, so if you go,
Right?
yeah, so if you go up top, yep, so the two changes here, I also want to make sure I'm correct about that, because I believe there's only the two. The only two changes here were we had a more refined, better definition of utility scale solar energy facility. And we went, with just a generic intro to the utility solar scale energy facility under the special land use section.
Yeah, and which that does fit better with the rest of
Got rid of the other.
Yeah, like most of our
Yeah, that's the way it plays out.
zoning ordinance is like this. It's straight to the point, it doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't say what, to me, that's one person could have wrote it.
Yeah,
And it says this is the township's feelings.
yeah.
Whose feelings?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's, is that in the package?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's in the packet.
Yeah, that's right. Here.
Oh, that, okay.
Yeah. This.
So for the context of tonight's meeting, the two items as it relates to utility scale solar is feedback, and/or agreeance with the two edits that were made to the definition of the intro. And then I guess the further refinement and kind of final selection of the overlay district. Because once we can get the overlay district geography defined, then we can start drafting language as it relates to setbacks.
Yeah, then
And things of that nature. Yeah, then we can clean up all that.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm still in favor of the least size of the overlay.
Do we have like versions on these or names of them?
Actually what you're looking at is really the culmination of two options that were looked at from the perspective of, again, parcels 20 acres or more along ITC, and then parcels 40 acres or more along 23.
Are you talking about the map, John?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sorry, yeah,
We just got so many of these.
No, I know.
And
Yeah.
we've done everything we've asked. You pull up a map and I'm like, well, what version is
Yeah,
it?
the text is August 25th version, and then the map, let me go to the map here. It's August, right, I think. What they did is combine the ITC corridor with the US 23.
We've gone through a lot of versions of this overlay map. I think we started with, okay, maybe looking at just a zoning district, and we didn't really feel that fit into the
Yeah.
character of the community, and I think each of these, I still am not seeing how it fits into the character of the community.
The only, it's, the more realistic to me is, of these here is the 23 route, because then you have better access. Like if you go into the lots across the ITC corridor, if there's an event on one of those properties, like, it's not easy to get there, right? And it's gonna take some time, like, yeah, it's interesting. That part of it is just
But
something I
also,
thought of when I was.
You read throughout the master plan how we want to keep the rural character of the community. Can you imagine driving down the highway and seeing "Welcome to Tyrone Township"? There's a huge solar facility. Would you guys think that is considered rural character? I don't.
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah, and then there's the balance there. That's like a lot of the reason that we
You
have.
gotta provide some.
Screening, John.
If you were gonna provide, if you were gonna, like, so preserving rural, right? But you can't take every rural parcel out of play. So if you have to put, because of the larger nature of the lots typically, so if you had to put some into play, do you want it in the middle of the community, or do you want it, kind of along 23, where you have identified, hey, if there's going to be an intenser use, and I use quotes,
Yeah.
along 23 is kind of where it should go.
And we've set that, we've discussed that a lot during the master plan when we're discussing residential and commercial developments, but most of that reason is for the sanitary sewer system, and access to that, the primary roadways and the highway, but I don't think this one really needs, really it needs the ITC corridor. It doesn't really need sewer or roadways really to.
Yeah, and that was kind of where my direction was last time, what I was thinking about, but then I was thinking about it from a serviceability standpoint. Let's say one of these goes in somewhere off the ITC corridor that is basically got to get there on a dirt road, and you got
Bunch of trucks.
Trucks or
Yeah,
some event, fire or whatever, then you have to go back there.
The ITC is an interesting part of it because it's desirable from the perspective of proximity. You also have more denser development up that way, which kind of, again, reduces lot size, kind of makes it more difficult to develop that area. Getting to ITC would be the responsibility of the applicant. How they're
I don't
going-
think we need to set it up for
Right,
that.
how they get there will be up to them. And I think 23 offers reasonable access from the perspective of potentially negotiating whatever they may want to negotiate right of way or things of that nature going up 23 as opposed to running up, in between property lines and things of that nature.
Even there, say you're running a huge power line down the highway, I do think it takes away from the rural character of the community.
How much can
I don't know, maybe
ban this? So that's-
maybe it's not right for a community, and we've looked at all these options.
Yeah,
And I think that's part of the problem here is we just need to look at what options, what areas do we think it fits in, I think the answer could be it doesn't fit.
Seems to be an answer.
Not the way we've been going.
Yeah.
I tell you, if we could do that,
I think we can. I think we can't just flat out say it at the beginning without doing any research and analysis, justification.
Yeah, you don't want to be the beta site for legal challenges as to whether you can do this or
Yeah.
not. The other thing is too, you already have a solar ordinance, okay, which allows it pretty much anywhere. And so can you restrict it? Sure. Can you eliminate it? That, I guess, is the question.
I would say not with the precedent having been set that it's already in your zoning.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's,
So do we take it a step at a
to me,
time?
that's, attorney would need to guide us on that one. Because
do we restrict it and then eliminate it?
But I'm
Well,
saying,
yeah.
what if there's a scenario like this? We allowed it. It never came to our community. But as they develop them across the country, you see them and the issues that they bring, because when this ordinance was originally adopted, there probably wasn't very many. And now when we see some issues of what happened to them, we can't go back and say, well, we don't want it.
Right.
And I think we could.
Yeah, and the other issue is the state of Michigan is encouraging them. So how do you?
Well, no, I'm sorry, Kurt. I was gonna say, I mean, more importantly, to the language you're using, the state has set benchmarks for the utilities to reach by a certain period of time.
Yeah.
So you cannot restrict a reasonable use of land that demonstrates a need. And so the need is the utility companies have to find other ways to generate power via statutes set by the state. So that's kind of where you find yourself in the whole question about like restriction, is if that's the route that you go, and it's not the route that we would advise you on, but that's all that we're here, you know, it's just that's kind of a sticky situation you're in. You have a precedent in which language already exists.
Yeah, we're also paying you to keep this out of court too.
Well, that was, I just tried, so.
Yeah, and from that perspective, we started with the ordinance, which is right now in place, and I think what we've developed here is healthier, and that would protect us better, right? From doing it, following these criteria, it's a stronger ordinance than what we started with, and then the issue is the overlay district of where is this potentially gonna go in our township right now, and I think from that perspective, John, like you're saying, hey, maybe as a citizen, you look at this and you say, hey, well, it doesn't make sense, right? But based on what we have now, what is the most reasonable place for it, right?
We didn't like the language that was originally adopted, so we got rid of that. And we're gonna go through and adopt this thing and tighten it up. So we're gonna tighten it up right now. How long do we have to wait before we can completely tighten it up to almost eliminate it before we get into trouble that say that you're not allowing it? In other words, could we do it and then come back in a year and eliminate it?
I mean, at the point in which from my perspective, no matter what point in the timeline you decide to eliminate it, at that point is when you could expose yourself to some very some very favorable legal challenges from the other perspective, in which you might find yourself in a difficult position defending that course of action.
So we go ahead and we tighten it up now, and then we wait whatever period of time and really tighten it up even more.
Well, what would be the reason in a year from now from tightening up again?
Well, because you gotta give it some time.
Maybe 5 of them catch fire throughout the country, and we can say, hey, we don't want to develop this.
Yeah, things change, right?
I mean, I would never advise you against keeping a close pulse on all of your zoning regulations from the perspective of, yes, the world changes. The only thing I can say is that at the point in which you get to either flat out eliminating it or restricting it with the obvious purpose of not allowing it is when you will find yourself in a position where you could be legally challenged. And if you are, you would likely not be able to defend it. And then, as we've discussed before, at that point, then the judge gets to tell you what you get. And that's just not where we want you to find you guys. I mean, we want to help you accomplish your goals. We also want to find you in that position.
Okay.
So, Mateo, I guess from what would, I think would be helpful is, the overlay district, if, like, this one, I don't know how easy this is, I know in our other parts of our master plan, we have, hey, this percentage of the township is designated for this use. Would that be a relatively simple thing to get for the next meeting, to say, hey, this overlay district represents 1% of our land use in the township, or from that perspective, and then to try to understand, you know, what, basically, if you took one 10-acre parcel out of your township and said, hey, that's our overlay district, you might say, hey, based on percentage, that's unreasonable. Like you're saying, hey, you're basically not allowing it at that point, right? If you're, that's kind of where I'm trying to understand, is like what, from a percentage basis.
You'd like to see what the currently proposed overlay would equate to as a percentage of land use in your, in time.
Yeah, and then, yeah.
Here's where I think that, can you pass that on, the left side, basically around the trailer park, Hogan Road, if you look at the existing land use, I think that would, if it had to go somewhere, it would affect the least amount of people, least amount of parcels, least amount of property owners.
Should we make a overlay district that restrictive?
I don't know.
If we could, I mean, you know, why not? I think that's the thing. How tight can we get this before we?
I mean, in looking at it and really thinking about it, I think you could take this stuff off of the ITC, you know, things that about the ITC line, again, for the reason I've discussed. You've got more development up that way. 20 acres is probably the bare minimum that a group would be looking at, and even then 20 acres might not be enough to generate ROI. So
I live on that Foley Road, where, you know, I mean, all that stuff is the north side of my property when I drive down to get the Heartland Road to come here, and that's very, very, very rural. I mean, that's like, everything on the north side, that's Jim Peabody's property is a big chunk of that, and there's a couple others that are just past the Canhar development, and it's like,
That's, I mean, over there.
that's completely rural.
But also, there's a lot of homes that are more estate type homes.
Oh, totally, yeah.
So you would affect a lot of
A lot of really nice.
So I'm not saying I want anywhere,
Yeah.
but like somewhere over there by the,
Yeah. And I certainly want to see
trailer
that
park,
forward, personally.
that would affect the least amount of people, because it's also, you know, it's farmland, which I think is a reason not to allow it, given up farmland.
I
But,
like your idea of it being between center and.
you know, I mean, if you were talking about number of parcels that would negatively affect, I think that's where it would negatively affect the least amount.
Right there along where.
But there's also,
Lake Road, that farmland.
Yeah.
That's up by Fenton, up
Yeah.
by Fenton. That's.
I just- Yeah,
Northern White Lake.
Yeah, it's that whole big farmland out there, it's right up tight to Fenton.
That's an interesting piece too, the 200
Some
acres that's for
piece of
sale.
property,
Right.
and it's nice and flat.
Maybe good spot for them, they'd probably.
It's not rural.
I just think when you, right there along the highway, you're saying, that's right there, welcome to Fenton, we gotta put a big welcome to Tyrone
Oh,
Township.
that's right next to, no one even knows that.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like, it's part of, if you read our ordinance, right, that it requires a screen for that reason, right? So you don't have that scenario, but a lot of our other, like, if you look at this from like, how do our other zoning classifications along the highway work, right? But it's a tough.
It's to screen it from adjacent residences.
You got this, so-
Maybe-
Yeah. Yeah, with the glare and the actual height of. So yeah, Mateo, the thing I'm trying to understand, and I don't know if you guys feel this way, if we had it just along 23, and you had the map for us already prepared, just along 23, is what percentage of the township
Just
land use is that?
Just
Just
along-
along 23, yep.
The current,
Yeah.
the current, how many acres is this, you're saying? Or a different version?
Well, what percentage of the?
No, what I'm saying is if we just did the solar overlay along 23 and these lots that he has highlighted, not on what percentage of land use would that be? 0.01, 0.5, and then compare it to like, hey, it's similar to our commercial zone properties, right? So then the point is then to say that, hey, it's a reasonable accommodation, right? It's not like we're picking on this one use and saying, hey,
Correct.
we're gonna give you one lot.
But if you look at this, just with the coloring of, let's say, for example, the mobile home parcels, whatever we'll call them, those multi-family manufactured home parcels.
Yeah.
But there's only 2 of those, and you look at all this other stuff that's hashed out on this, it's way more than that.
Yeah.
So in other words, I think we have justification to tighten this map up a lot.
Yeah, and that's why I asked if we could see it just along 23 and see what that
See it
percentage
along
looks
23,
like.
just
Yeah.
north of Center Road, period, and call that fair. What do you think, Matthias?
I think you get away with that.
You don't think so? I mean, there's some big chunks of vacant land there,
Yeah, no,
and some are for sale. It's like, make it work. It's not our problem if it, right? If it doesn't financially work.
I mean, that's a hair tight. You might be able to justify maybe making Fawcett your southern boundary of it. I'd want to bounce it off of a few people who've done this more than I have.
Better than an asphalt.
No.
I mean, to me, if they're taking up farmland, I'd rather have it away from residential development.
Do you like it being on the 23 corridor though?
I'd rather not have a new power line going right down the corridor, just to,
Oh, but I've seen these things out, like going down 69. I don't see big power lines.
it's probably right on the power line.
Yeah, I don't know how they do
I've not seen that. It's, in other words, it's not what they need. It hasn't been something noticeable when you go either down 96 or 69. That's not been something I've noticed personally.
Yeah.
Yeah, overall, we'll have to
The worst place.
figure that stuff out if that.
Well, yeah, I would say that we're making progress, and I think what we should do is to take it off of the ITC, just because that's in a very residential area,
This is your.
and look at it from maybe
Yeah, and that was my
About
thought,
Dean Road
Steve,
North.
of, like,
Dean Road North. Instead of Fawcett.
yeah.
You know, it takes off a couple more big parcels in there. I mean, it still gives them, several big pieces.
That's fair.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of it would be tough because like if you look at our uses, right, if you go south of Dean, we have the commercial, effect trading posts, and you got Action, you got the propane place, and you got Fortress. You know, like from the way we're using the, like it's already commercial use.
There's a couple small uses.
Yeah, I know.
But
That's
you're
what I'm
right.
trying to understand.
You're right.
How would we?
But Andy, you got that plain unit development there.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's,
Residential.
that you're affecting hundreds of homes there.
Yeah.
Where if you put it out in the rural area, which we want to keep rural, but, you're affecting less.
Yeah, let's see if maybe that's the next place to go is just the 23 corridor and see percentage wise and then see what that, and because then it'll help us to understand.
John, another thing you gotta look at is
Take
the
a lot out.
infrastructure coming to there. Because you're gonna have the infrastructure, the wires coming out towards the expressway too, so remember that.
Well, I'm just saying,
I'm not saying your idea is bad, but we gotta have that infrastructure going into the whole road area.
yeah, but that's less than 1,000 feet away from the ITC corridor.
Yeah, well, I didn't know, I'm just saying. We gotta think.
That's right by it, and,
But yeah, maybe for that, that's our,
Mateo, do you run into, I mean, obviously, we're not the only township that's trying to tighten this up. Could you come back to us if we say from Dean Road North and see if that's a reasonable, only on 23?
Well,
Let us know if
I'm
that's
gonna kind
reasonable.
of take the benchmarks that you guys have set up, bounce it off some folks who've been doing it
Yeah,
longer than I, and see what they say.
And let us know what they say, because, tell us what you guys see.
Yeah. Yeah, I can do that. We can take a
Yeah,
look
it's
at.
just remember, even if we put an ordinance together that modifies what we have right now, it's gotta go to the county for approval too, even if we approve.
But they're the ones that initiated this whole thing, so.
No, we
Right.
did, we asked them to review it.
But,
Yeah.
but I thought they came down with a thing for everyone.
No, we.
That came from us to them.
Yeah,
Oh, I missed that.
basically when in the neighboring townships, these issues started cropping up, we sent our ordinance to them to review it and say, hey, do you see any major issues with our ordinance?
Oh, I thought it came from them and down to us.
No,
that-
we sent it.
They did it as a courtesy for us.
No.
So you good on that, Mateo? We talked about a lot of stuff there.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, but the language, we're good on.
Yep.
Overlay, I'll run the numbers on some of these percentages, I'll bounce it off a few other folks, and we'll come back with some info on that.
Anything else, guys? It's a lot to.
It's a lot. Well, definitely, like Mike said, definitely didn't just kick the can down the road, we talked about it.
So then the next agenda item is new business item number 1, key increase in accessory structure size. So, no issues during the public hearing. I don't have any from planning commission standpoint. And the only item would just, you can figure it out, but would just be good to note the max height of the peak of the building on the, simple change, but. Other than that,
Looking for a motion?
yeah.
I did move to approve, so I'll reiterate that.
Support.
Motion and support to approve the key increase in accessory structure size application. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. None opposed? Right. So, that's it, we're all set there. And we'll go to call to the public. Anybody, public comment at this time? Okay. We'll go to miscellaneous business, so the next workshop, let me pull the agenda back up here. Next workshop for September 20th, 6 p.m. It's typically when we'll start, so I don't think there's any special items, but the plan would be to have the master plan and solar on the workshop agenda.
Yeah, so like I said, let me talk to Ross, because he was floating out the 19th
Yeah.
as being the deadline, but if that's even with some minor tweaks,
Yeah.
one day wouldn't be enough time for us to quick turn that around.
Review it, yeah.
So, and then I don't know, let me talk to the folks, I don't know, the solar stuff might be a little tight for that deadline too.
Yeah. Okay.
But let me touch base with Ross.
Yeah. Understood, yeah, no worries.
Do you have legal on, at your facility where you could, I mean, obviously these things probably come up, I would assume.
I mean, not on staff.
You don't have legal on staff?
No.
Well, but you have other precedent where people have opposed this and it's gone through the process, so is there some things we can learn from other people's battles?
I mean, I'd have to look and see if there's consent judgments for solar fields.
Well, just, I would wonder if you,
Have you represented any communities that don't allow it?
We have not.
Because I think it's Marion Township that was looking for a ban.
They allow it.
Did what?
I thought they allow it.
They did, and I think they were looking for a ban.
But I thought they had an application come in.
Yeah, they had an application come in, and then they wanted to get into a moratorium, and I haven't heard.
Yeah, I don't know either, but a colleague is the planning commission. I'll ask him.
but I've seen some of that come through on other, just some other, through my tax bills, I get from different communities where they're coming through on these townships and trying to, you know, tighten this up as well. It's not just us that's doing this.
I don't think we need to have that just because someone in the state government wants it.
Well, that's
And I think if we
jamming all that down our throats.
we just worked on the master plan for over a year, goals and objectives in the community and all this stuff, it doesn't align, I don't think. And I think we do our due diligence and show that it doesn't align and we don't have a place for it without harming our community, then they can go somewhere else.
Fight the big government.
So Mateo, from the workshop perspective, you're saying it might be tight to get those
Yeah, because if we want to
items.
give, if we want to give the board 2 weeks after the meeting, that would run to the 19th.
Yeah.
Now that, what you have may be it, like I said, I have to touch base with Ross on it.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, I know you guys didn't have a lot to throw at it.
Yeah.
But even just to get it turned around and get it to you.
Yeah, it's gonna be tight
Deadlines, it
for
might be
that
tight,
one.
same thing with the solar, but
Yeah.
let me talk to Ross.
Okay. Anything else, guys? All right.
Think so.
Move we adjourn.
Sounds good to me.
Let's have a good meeting. Done quick.
Shortest one in a year.
And it was productive.
Thank you, guys.
Well, it's not over yet.
Thank you.
Have you done your motion?